Yes. Hello everybody. Welcome back, and hope everybody is fine. Um, Today I selected the topic by myself, but definitely the topics you suggested, like technical exercises, maybe even solo piano and Coltrane changes. We will talk about in the next few days. Yeah, it's about the schools. It's still not clear. The on the news it was the government still has to wait for the kind of research they're doing if it's going to be April 6th that we start again or later. But let's just wait and yeah, keep practicing and keep playing. Yeah, like a lot of people already picked up again, like the inventions of Bach or like the symphonias. All great work. Keep playing piano. Okay, the topic I selected for you today is one that actually could help you. Yeah, you can just send me a message through the YouTube comments, or you can look for Facebook. Hey Ferdinand, hello. Okay, so the topic of today is about improvising again, about the solo. And last Friday I talked a lot about how to build up a library of vocabulary and like how to practice lines and how to make variations. So if you didn't see that one, maybe you could go back to last Friday. Okay, and but today, after studying all this stuff, all the skills, all the keys, all the triads, all the arpeggios, all the four-note chords, all the chromatic passing notes, of course, we all know that, I hope. Um, then, of course, then we know all the material for a good solo, but I think we could maybe even make the solo better by thinking of concepts and thinking about melodic connections, about ideas, and about creating kind of like a story in your solo. A lot of times people talk about storytelling, but I prefer like to make like strong connections in the solo. So for that, it's really good to listen to your favorite players and then really concentrate on that aspect of the solo. So like it's very important to know that they play a great line on C7 altered, but why they play that line at that moment, what did they play before, what did they play after that? That's kind of an important thing. And so the topic of today, we can actually practice on all the tunes we know, and then make a whole list of things we could work on. So first of all, um, about the concept of the solo, um, but that will come later. Sorry. So things that we can practice is like to make a strong solo is like repeating ideas, but also developing ideas. So you start with a certain idea, and from that comes like a variation. From that comes maybe again another idea. So to practice is always good to stay really long with the same idea. And of course, in a real life situation, you will feel when it's time to move on to the next one. So I want to give you a few examples about ideas. Can be like short phrases, short melodies. It can be motifs. It can be a certain concept like keeping the same top note. It can be a concept like keeping the same technique, keeping the same rhythm. So there's a lot of different things to practice. I will give you maybe first an idea, like using short melodies, and then to see if we can repeat them or even develop them. First diatonically, and then maybe later also adjust it to the chord changes. Yeah, so let's say we take a really simple motif. Um, so three note motive. That sounds like how Mark sings. That's also cool. So we have this. And so let's say we take maybe first one chord, say D minor 7. So it can be. So this is like a diatonic movement of a motive. And then maybe we could say like, okay, we have, maybe the next chord could be like a G7 altered. So we had and you see, so that's already kind of like the same idea, but transposed to the next chord. The tune was How My Heart Sings. This is actually the pickup line of this tune. It's played by Bill Evans a lot, but it's written by Earl Zinders, I think. Okay, so this thing we could maybe already practice with some different motives, and of course you can create your own motives, but of course you can also find a lot of interesting motives on recordings that we like. So let's say if we take a tune, I don't know. Oh no, we had yesterday or the day before. Let's do today. Today is It Could Happen to You time. So actually, you already noticed that the melody is kind of based on this idea. It's a melodic motive that's transposed to the next bars. And if you look actually at all the nice standards we play, it's all based on that idea. So like it's sometimes it's like a long motive. Nee, so no Stella, sorry Bob. Bob Wijner just joined. Oh, I just want to mention he's doing a really great initiative. He's playing a standard a day on Facebook, and so he also made advertisements for my masterclass. So okay, Bob, here's the advertisement. Also great to check out on Facebook every day is Fred Hirsch. He's doing a tune a day, and I'm sure there are more piano players that we can check out. Okay, so It Could Happen to You. So there was like the same motive, but now I transposed it to all the scales according to the chord changes. And so let's maybe try with a few different motives. There's one motive I really like, and that transcription I will definitely put on the website tonight is the solo from Herbie Hancock on Witch Hunt, the one I listen to a lot. He has this great motive, free note motive, on C minor. Then he diatonically moves it like a fourth down. And also he moves it up like a minor first. And then actually he keeps going with the minor first. So you get... You see, so that's like that's also a way of using a motive, like even going like symmetrically up or down. It could be also, he could have played also going whole steps up or down maybe. Yeah, so let's let's all use these ideas from the great players. Okay, so let's say if we take that motive on It Could Happen to You. So now it kind of showed you, like at a certain moment you get tired of that motive, so we have to go to the next idea. So now it was like, yeah. So those things you can really practice very systematically. Just take a motive, free note, or of course you can make also longer, and then first try it diatonically, and then try adjusting it to the next scale. Okay, and this kind of thing you hear a lot, definitely with Keith Jarrett. He does this a lot of times also diatonically. Yesterday I was listening to I Fall in Love Too Easily from a live recording. He plays an intro and it's only like diatonic movement. Question? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's like the next step. Yeah, that's cool. It's like the motive you can also play backwards. You can mirror it, but that's like for the professors, Anders. So it would be. And it's so actually one motive already creates two. And yeah, for the real professors, you can also try to mirror it on an axis. Now it gets very high academic. So let's say, so if you take the B flat as an axis, hey, but if you take the D flat as an axis, okay, so now we're back to Schoenberg and Messiaen. Okay, so work on that thing, like a motive and transpose diatonically and move diatonically and transpose. And the next thing, it's a little bit related, is patterns. I'll show you some patterns that I really like. Bill Evans probably also liked, because like this one he used, I think, in like 20 songs. It's a little bit same. Eh? So practice maybe first diatonic. I think it's used on the theme song from Mesh and 19 other tunes. Okay, so this pattern works really good diatonic. And then of course now it's a minor chord, but we just try it also like on altered. That's already more difficult, or like maybe diminished scale. So of course you can make as many variations as you like. Okay, that's one motive that definitely could work. Let's see if we can do it on It Could Happen to You. So that's a quite difficult one to really keep going. Yeah, question? Yeah, an example of a long motive. Yeah, very good. So uh, so the next step is to make longer motives. So actually, we talked a little bit in the lesson about like rhythmic variations and displacement. So definitely long motives work really good to also kind of make a rhythmic variation. Otherwise, if you do too long the same motive and in the same rhythm, it gets really boring. But this would be really great to practice on, let's say, chord progressions that already kind of follow a sequence. Let's say, oh yeah, let's say maybe the bridge of Cherokee. So like. So you have 251, 251, 251, going whole steps down. Yeah? So let's say, I think this is kind of related to what Charlie Parker played. And then maybe. But of course, if I play 3 times the same rhythm, it sounds really like an exercise. Like, wait. So we're going to like. So I maybe also use only the beginning of the long line and at the end make a variation. 5-note motives. Yeah, any number you like. So that's a good thing to practice. And like this one over like harmonic sequences definitely works really good. Would you try to mirror a long motive? we could try it, but I think there's already a lot of stuff to practice without getting into that kind of stuff. Nice. Okay. What I want to say, yeah. So the same thing what we talked about, we can also maybe use with displacement, and it's actually, I think, more cool. Like let's say. One, two. That's it. I like playing the same motive one beat earlier, for instance. My favorite one is on the 2/5. So like one beat later, so you get a 7-beat grouping. That can also be like if you play short 2/5s, let's say. So instead of starting on the one. Same motive, but like one beat earlier. Okay, that's a lot of stuff to practice. Maybe I'll try also a little bit on It Could Happen to You. So we see already we have the same harmonic progression. So let's do exactly the same motive there. So you see it sounds really like kind of boring. So maybe let's try to make a little variation. Sorry, one more time. See, like kind of repeating the same lines, but displaced. Okay, so I definitely also will get back into that practicing. Okay, one really great thing to make a strong connection in the lines. Yeah, so like to make a strong connection in the lines is a thing I found in a few solos from Herbie Hancock and Bill Evans. There's one definitely really cool to check out. It's also on YouTube, including the transcription. It's called Night and Day. It's a recording Bill Evans with Stan Getz. I transcribed that solo some years ago in C because I don't have perfect pitch. And later I checked with the record, it was E flat. Nice. So that one I recorded together with Erik Kinneke in the duo. So that's on Spotify if you want to check. Okay, so what he does is the first part of the solo, he comes every time back to the same top note. So let's say in C, because I practiced in C, like Night and Day. Yeah, so he does like. So that there's so many nice ideas to steal from that solo, but this is really cool. It's always the same top note. So let's maybe try that also to apply that to It Could Happen to You. So we need a good top note, maybe. E flat could work. Actually, the root. Eh? So try to make lines every time kind of returning to the same top note. Sounds easy, but it's quite difficult. A nice variation on that for the more advanced level is choose a top note that doesn't fit. So that means that's a Herbie Hancock thing. Eh? So let's say he plays on one of the recordings with Miles on Stella by Starlight. Sorry, Bob, again Stella by Starlight. He chooses the C sharp for the last 8 bars, and the C sharp is not in E half diminished, is not in D minor 7, is not in C minor 7, but he makes the chords fit to the top note. So let's say I'll start on the bridge. Okay, E flat again. And then you have to get out of it. Yeah. So he chooses a very dangerous top note, but it's super cool on to adjust your chord. That could already be a good exercise. Just take any top note you like on a certain bass note and make a voicing that makes it fit. So the same thing he did on Stablemates, recording with Tony Williams, Ron Carter, live somewhere in Japan. It's a great record. It's also That Old Black Magic is there, and of course Dolphin Dance. That's in all recordings. So what he does is like he chooses the A as a top note, which actually fits on the first 2 chords. So like the A. You see, so you have to adjust the E flat minor 7 to E flat half diminished, and then the D flat major on it into a D flat major plus 5, and the C7, which used to be altered, you have to change to a flat 9 13. Any questions about this? I'll check what. Sebastian says try with the E. Oh, on the. It could happen to you. Yeah, that's mean. Eh? You want to make me sound bad. Okay, so that's also a thing to practice and keep in mind using the same top note. And of course, it's safe to choose a top note that's actually a common note from all the chords or from the scales. But like this, it's like choosing a note that might get you in trouble, but you have to be creative. Another thing that makes really strong connection melodically between chords is what I call search for the chromatic line. I have to turn my bottle so they cannot see the brand. We had some complaints about some endorsement. Okay, so let's say in some chords actually the chromatic line is very obvious. So let's say if you take the last part of All the Things You Are, there's a kind of chromatic line in the middle of the chords. I will show you. Last A. You see, like the same is actually also on Night and Day. Yeah. So let's make lines that kind of really follow this chromatic line. It can be in the same octave, but it can also be, for instance, like changing octave. So let's say to practice, what I do is I play it really clear in the left hand, so the right hand has to follow. So let's D flat major. sheet a little bit, but keep that idea in mind. So the chromatic line going down, and so in this harmonic progression is already kind of built in, but we can also sometimes kind of put our own chromatic line on top of a harmonic progression. So if you have a 2-5-1, like we saw a lot of times the last few weeks, let's say D minor 7, G7, C. We already talked about for voicings. You can go from a 9 to flat 13 to a 9. This could also be a kind of starting point for your lines. And I go to the 5. And the same with 13, flat 13. And that's a great thing to practice also on the, we always kind of call the Brazilian dominant chain. Let's say if you have this like in wave they use this. So that's quite hard to make lines, but we can always go for this chromatic thing. Yeah, so there we kind of create this line. And of course, the next thing we can do is kind of make a connection, harmonic connection, even if chords are not exactly the same. Yeah, the Brazilian. Yeah. So and like there are some tunes where of course we have exact same chord transposed. If you go like, you can say like F minor to A flat minor. So there we can definitely practice our sequence. But sometimes we can also kind of create this thing by thinking of upper structures. Good example is if you go from a major chord to a minor chord. Let's say you could say the built-in chromatic is or even or major. But you can also say E flat minor is the same as a G flat major 7. So in this case we have E flat major going to G flat major. So let's try that also with like repeating lines. So if you adjust a little bit. That's like the same kind of thing. And so like thinking not E flat minor, but thinking G flat major. Any questions about that? It's just kind of trying to find the strongest connections in your solo between different chord types. Okay, and then I think a nice exercise I learned from a masterclass somewhere is like to kind of connect your lines, superimpose other chord qualities. Yeah, so with superimposing, you can go quite far. You can really kind of change the whole function even, or even like changing really the sound of a chord. So like for instance, the thing that I heard a lot is like if you have a half diminished to a D7, which is two complete different type of chords, like a half diminished is a subdominant and D7 is a dominant. That could be really cool to just to change in A7 altered to D7 altered. So we have two altered chords fourth apart or fifth. So let's say so maybe when it goes to Actually, it can work every half a minute. So like changing a 2 actually into a 5, that would work. Can you also apply these ideas to some modal tunes? Yeah, for sure. Actually, I think it's even easier because we can see it as a diatonic movement, and we can also use the things I said about Herbie Hancock, like moving motifs in thirds or whole steps, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that all works. Yeah. So a nice exercise for you also to practice is if you play a line, the note where you stop has to be the starting note from the next line. Also, it's actually also cool because it's the ear remembers what it heard last, and then it's like kind of recognizing like, I heard that note. So let's see if that works on It Could Happen to You. See, and it's actually a really good exercise because you have to remember what you just played. That's very important. So that's an exercise we could do on a lot of different tunes. There's another thing that could work really good is like actually repeating the same idea, and the same idea can be the same phrase. It can be the same phrase, can be the same rhythm, and can be even like the same technique, for instance. So I try to give you some examples. Like the same phrase is actually kind of works for blues really good, but we should also apply it to other tunes. And like a blues, you could do like that works definitely good on the blues. But the same idea we could do maybe on It Could Happen to You also. Let's say like maybe like that. So like at a certain moment you feel yourself when to get out of it. It's like, okay, now we know it. When the audience starts singing with your solo, then it's time to get out of it. That's important. Yeah. So, but the same can also be a rhythmic idea. It doesn't have to be exactly like rhythmically the same. So let's say we talked about before, like for instance, like dotted quarter notes. It could be a great thing just to keep going. And it's kind of a concept. Let's say. And like, of course, in different variations, but it's like a rhythmic thing to continue, or maybe like a little bit more like a big band thing. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. It's more like a rhythmic phrase that we whole time, or riff we repeat whole time. So that could be also a thing. And then, yeah, you can talk about texture or technique, maybe. Like, let's say if you if you play every solo the same approach, it gets boring. So if you play the whole time like the left hand, the voicing, what Fred Hurst called the claw. Nice. So if you play every solo like that and the right hand the single lines, then at a certain moment all the solos sound the same. So few options to practice that we could do is like look for different texture. So one that I really like, and I was inspired a lot by Dutch piano player Rob Matna, great player, is like using more voicings in the solo. Of course, another concept could be to play the solo with only voicings. For that, listen to actually Green Dolphin Street, Bill Evans on the record Green Dolphin Street, where he plays 8 choruses, only block chords. So that's amazing. Yeah. So what we could first maybe try is like to make a combination of lines and chords in your solos. So not only single lines, but also use chords sometimes. Yeah, Oscar Peterson also a master for sure. Yeah. There's also some recordings on exclusively for my friends where he plays amazing block chord solos. Yeah, so I'll try to show you some examples using the voicings. So maybe not first the whole solo with voicings, but maybe combination of lines. So what I kind of practice is making a line and ending on a nice voicing or voicings. Okay, so let's say maybe a little slower. So like. Yeah, you see that's quite a difficult thing, but it's really cool to try out. And sometimes to practice, you choose one voicing and start to make lines that end on that voicing. So let's say if you want to go, we want the C7, let's say with the A flat on top. Huh? Or any C7 you like. Huh? So you can do like. Or maybe. Yeah, that would be a nice one. And of course my favorite drop 2 stuff. That always So if you practice that a lot, what we saw earlier in the week, then you can just throw it in wherever you like. Okay, so this would be like a combination of voicings and lines. Maybe a next step could be to try using only voicings. Now, has this chord for this tune has a lot of chords, but I'll try a little bit. So let's say a combination of drop 2, 4th chords, and maybe upper structure triads. cheated also a little bit with sometimes octaves. Okay, but it sounded like a voicing. Okay, so for this one, if you really want to go into the locked hands or the block chords, really listen to Bill Evans, where he does this amazing solo. Here's this this kind of stuff, like. But he uses always the octave, the bass, and the melody. A minor 7 to A flat minor 7? How do you mean? Wait a minute, I don't understand. A minor 7 to A flat minor. No, maybe later, I don't know exactly what you mean. Okay, so that's a completely different texture than single notes in the claw. So using the using more the voicings in the solo. Another variation in texture could, for instance, be also a cool thing to practice, but always difficult. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So like a chromatic approach. Yeah, you can approach every chord with one chromatic chord, or you can use a double approach, or maybe even a triple approach. Yeah, like let's say if you do the F minor to A flat, like so this is what I learned from my old teacher, Wolfgang Krebel. It's like for 2-5-1. So you see, you approach the D minor, and you approach the G7 with an A flat 7. So a really dangerous G7. That's a good one to practice. Yeah. Okay, so that's one thing. The next texture we could use maybe is really cool to practice is the octaves. Like, of course, most time we kind of think about Oscar Peterson when he plays everything in unison, but also there are recordings of actually every piano player. Like one that is amazing is Phineas Newborn Jr. You have to check that one out for the two-hand stuff. And it's a matter of practicing it a lot, and of course also the left hand has to develop. So. And like if you practice it, most time the left hand is following the right hand. So sometimes it's actually good also to practice only the left hand, but that's hard to do by yourself. Maybe you can try like with the chord in the right hand. But it's nice, of course, if you have a bass player. That's super cool. Yeah, Benny Green also. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's some recordings where he plays super fast. I think even like Celia, he plays Benny Green with the two-hand octaves. Oh wait a minute, there's a question about rhythm. Yeah, that's also a good question. Of course, rhythm is also very important to think about also for the variations in the lines. Actually, I want to talk a little bit about that. That's a good question. So to create also variation in Rhythm, and rhythm I also mean actually like the length of the phrases, the starting point, the ending point, and the subdivision. A really nice solo that I studied with a lot of students is Bud Powell, Celia. I will put the transcription later on the website. Because it's really nice to see like how he really changed a lot of times between 16ths, using triplets, using 8 notes. And yeah, a lot of times when people are practicing lines, it's all, most times it's only 8 notes. It can get really boring. Yeah. So yeah, if you just look at the solo from Celia from Bud Powell, you can already actually point out maybe with a red marker. Okay, this is 8 notes. Okay, with a blue marker, this is triplets. And he uses quite a lot of 16s, but that makes the solo really interesting. If you play only 8 notes, it can be boring. I will give a little example. I'm really good at playing boring. So there's nothing happening rhythmically. So what you could already do is like working on the starting point and the end point of a line. So what I also practice with some students is first start on the end of one. You see that it's already kind of creating not this really too strict starting on the one. But I mean, yeah, so definitely Bill Evans is a great example for rhythmic variations. Yeah. So, but just kind of keep in mind this exercise, like starting on the one end, starting on the two, starting on the three, and the same with the ending points. You can make a list. Like the line ends on the, never on the one, but ends on the end of four, ends on the four, and so working backwards. And then you can make all the combinations. Well, that looks strange. Okay, and then the next thing is like the subdivision. So as I already said, like the solo from Bud Powell is really good example for subdivision. So I have some exercise for you that could be really nice. It's like as exercise, every time you start a new phrase, it has to be a different subdivision. I always call this the like a manual car. So like from the 2 to the 3 to the 4. And let's say we start with 8 notes. It's too fast. A little slow. Too fast. Sorry. Still too fast. Sorry, a little slow. Yeah. I like maybe first practice this a little slower tempo. Yeah. And then you can even make the combination. So actually what Herbie Hancock did, sometimes he starts a line, actually in this Witchland, he starts a line in 16ths and then slows down to triplets in the same line. He played like so like already changing the gear during the line. Let's see if that works. good thing to practice. Like 8 notes, triplets, 16ths. Yeah, so but Paul he makes it a little bit more really separated. So you get like this immediately to show off. He goes like with the 16ths. So. So you have the 8 note lines, and then suddenly, when the 16ths come, it's like super exciting. Yeah. So that's a kind of good thing to work on for your solos for the rhythmic variations. So, any questions? And of course, the left hand can also accentuate this, like the starting points of the lines. And like, for instance, if you start on the one end, like Wilhelm's Love Times, he supports that right hand with the left hand. So if you 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Yeah, so that's kind of what I kind of stole from Bill Evans, or kind of was inspired. Yeah, so the exercise can be definitely with 8 notes, triplets, and 16ths can be, if you do this exercise, can be really like going from 8 notes to triplets to 16ths, back to triplets to 8 notes. That could work, and sometimes even what I practice a little bit is like using the same line. Let's say. Can be. So that's a really good thing to practice, and so you can do the same with lines you find also with other players. And let's say if you have this. That's the Bud Powell thing. So you can be like can be. Maybe on a rhythm change, yes, because we like. Triplets or like. Yeah, so the similar line to practice in different subdivisions. That's definitely a good thing to practice. How would you work with the balance between repeating and rhythmic variations? Some exercises. Yeah, so yeah, definitely like check out some solos of good players. Like Bud Powell is a great example for this thing, for the triplets and the 16ths, but also the solo from Herbie Hancock, the Witch Hunt, which I will put later on the website. It's a really nice one to check out. He goes for a lot of triplet stuff also. And so we're still talking actually about the concept of the solo and the melodic connections. Maybe also nice, yeah, definitely. Brad Meldo is amazing, of course. Yeah. So motivic development, really good to check out there. Yeah. So what we could even do is like some, even some other like more exotic techniques as piano players, because of course this is already that's already quite difficult, the two hands. But how about also trying intervals like sixths or tenths? Tenths I'm still working on, but I really like it. So it's like. So actually, I practice some bebop lines in 12 keys. Let's say. And then maybe the same in. let's go to 10. Sorry. Yeah, that's a great thing to practice. And then what you can also practice for that is like scales. Actually, I wanted to use that for tomorrow for the technique. But we can already show a little bit. Let's say the diminished scale. Diminished scale could work, and maybe also altered. Basically, every skill you can practice in tenths. Yeah, levensgevaarlijk. Yeah, very dangerous. And also working a little bit on sixth, but that works really good on minor harmonic. So let's say if you maybe like. That's on the sixth. Yeah, so we have to find the skills that work good in sixth. Yeah, very dangerous. At first, I think that's too close. You really get stuck. Yeah, sometimes also tried fifths, but it sounds a little bit more like synthesizer if you do like. Sounds a little bit like a bad synthesizer. Okay, but it's different. Definitely a different texture than the single line with the claw. One thing also that could be nice is like what definitely Brett Mello did a lot, but we can also maybe make our own things. It's like it's using like an ostinato in the right hand and in the left hand plays like a line. And one that became famous because Brett Mello is like this kind of stuff, like. Just as fast as possible. Yeah, he did it one time in the Masterclass. He did playing the arpeggios from the chords like this and playing the melody in the left hand. So like. Yeah, it's almost like playing classical. Right? Yeah, but it's definitely just nice, just some ideas to see what else is possible with the piano, especially maybe for solo piano. Lekker. Okay, Sebastian, more questions? Yeah, definitely. In this case, the right hand is leading. The right hand is the melody, and the left hand kind of makes the interval. Yeah, and of course, yeah, to do it fluent and on the spot, I think we have to practice a lot of possibilities. So like arpeggios, scales, maybe even like chromatic. Chromatic notes are always most difficult. If you do like. That's already really difficult to get the right interval. Yeah, I had one student. He could play Donna Lee in tenths in 12 keys. So that could be a nice assignment for tomorrow. No, sorry, I'm getting bad now. Okay, any more questions about this melodic thing and like concept of solo? I had it for a while. I tried it actually out in real life. And it's quite hard, but actually it's a really cool thing to think about. Maybe next time when you have a gig, oh yeah, can take some while. But So actually, I've kind of forced myself to do every solo in the set a different concept or different approach, and that's definitely a good challenge. Yeah, like one time, one solo only voicings, one solo, let's say 80% with the octaves, one solo only the single lines and the claw, and one solo maybe even like combination of the lines and one solo only block chords. So there's a lot of things we can try out on in a live situation. Okay, maybe time for the last questions. Oh, there's one about reharmonizing the rhythm changes. Yeah, I kind of explained already quite a lot last week, Monday. So maybe we should go back to the masterclass of Monday the 16th. There's already a lot about harmonization from rhythm changes. Okay, now if there are no more questions, it's nice weather, so go out, but not with more than two people. And 1.5 meters distance, 1.5 meters, very important. Yeah. Then I wish you a very nice Wednesday and see you back tomorrow. And keep sending comments, suggestions, requests. Always welcome. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.